sleep issues are a huge problem globally. It's almost like another, epidemic in and of itself. 35% of Americans don't get enough sleep night to night, and we can talk more about why that might be and what the adequate amount of sleep is. But insomnia is a huge issue, and most of us have experienced insomnia at some point or another, right? So we've all had nights where maybe you had a big event the next day, or it's your wedding day the next day, or something like that, and you had some difficulty sleeping. But when that's happening on a regular basis, 3 times a week for more than 3 months, it becomes chronic insomnia. And chronic insomnia is a huge problem worldwide, even up to 60% of people. The estimates are kind of hard. It's kind of hard to estimate how many people are experiencing this, but studies show that between 10 to 60% of people experience chronic insomnia. So what are the causes of this? Generally, the driving force behind insomnia is something called hyperarousal. So hyperarousal is when your nervous system is in a revved up state. So you can imagine, when you're working during the day, you have to be in a little bit of a heightened state so that you're alert and you're able to concentrate. But if that doesn't calm down, if that doesn't shut off at night, that's going to perpetuate this issue of chronic insomnia. And what perpetuates that issue of hyperarousal could be a multitude of things. So things like stress, anxiety about sleep itself. When you have trouble sleeping, you start to get anxious about sleeping. So that can drive it. But medical issues can also drive it. So issues like thyroid imbalances, even diabetes, imbalances in your blood sugar can cause it. And then other underlying sleep issues like sleep apnea or restless leg syndrome, even long-term issues with mental health. So anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder can also cause insomnia. So you can see there's multitudes of causes. And so this is why it's really important that if you're struggling with insomnia, that you figure out what's the driving force behind it, or the driving forces. There may be more than one cause before you start jumping into solutions. Sleep is fundamental to brain health. It's fundamental to physical health. It's fundamental to emotional health. And so we all know that feeling of when you don't sleep well, you don't function as well the next day. It's harder to concentrate. You don't have the energy to exercise. It's harder to make good food choices when you're sleep deprived. You're going to be more likely to reach for that bag of chips or that chocolate bar versus the salad. And so what happens during sleep is that sleep is a very active process. So one thing that happens is that your brain actually clears out toxins that build up during the day. So when we're awake, our cells are active and metabolizing all the nutrients that we're consuming and such. And this results in a buildup of proteins and other metabolites that need to be flushed out at the end of the day. So you're like cleaning out the pipes, so to speak. And so that process in the brain happens during sleep. So if you're sleep deprived, your brain isn't able to clear out all of these toxins that build up. One of those toxins is actually amyloid beta, which is involved in Alzheimer's dementia. So we're learning that when people are chronically sleep deprived, they actually have an increased risk of dementia later in life because of the buildup of these proteins. Another thing that happens during sleep is that it regulates your metabolism. So your hormones involved in hunger, like leptin and ghrelin, which tell you when you're hungry and when you're full, these go out of whack when you're sleep deprived. So that's why you might notice when you're sleep deprived, you want that bag of chips, because your ghrelin hormone, so I remember ghrelin, like your stomach is growling, so you have more ghrelin, makes you hungry. So that actually goes up when you're sleep deprived. So down the line, that can cause an increased risk of diabetes, weight gain, even obesity can be related to sleep deprivation. And then there's also cardiovascular implications with sleep. So if you're not sleeping well, it can cause an increased risk of high blood pressure and cardiac arrhythmias and heart disease. So you can see it affects every system in the body.